Well, hello Internet, and welcome to my Bootstrap video tutorial. In this one tutorial, I'm pretty much going to take all the documentation from the Bootstrap website and cram it into one video. Underneath in the description, I have links to all the individual parts. You can learn exactly what you want to learn. And Bootstrap basically just makes it extremely easy to make responsive websites. It just does everything for you for the most part. And we're going to be covering containers, jumbotrons, buttons, grid systems for creating responsive websites, how to hide and show elements based on screen size changes, tables, carousels, icons, image styling, text styling, drop-down menus, input styling, navigation menus, tab interfaces, pill interfaces, navigation bars, pagination, and a lot more. So I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, just like always, all the code that I have here is available in the link in the description, and I'm just going to jump in. Basically, we have everything over here is just basic HTML, and I have a little bit of styling, which I'll cover here in a second. And the first thing we want to do is throw a meta tag inside of here, and what this meta tag right here that I just put inside here is going to do is to tell Internet Explorer to use the latest rendering engine. That's something you always want to include. And then after that, I'm going to throw in another meta tag, this guy right here. And basically what this is saying is to set the page width to the size of the device and set the zoom level to 1, as you can see right there. Now we need to go out and get Bootstrap, and it's quite easy. What we're going to do is go to getbootstrap.com, getting started right here. And I'm going to cover how to deal with downloading all the source code and using all of that. But for now, I'm going to use a CDN because it's going to make it very easy for us to get Bootstrap, and at the same time, it is also going to potentially save us a lot of time. If someone has gone to another website that used Bootstrap, they'll have it already available on their system. And to link this in here, I'm just going to type in link like this, and this is Sublime Text here, and this is just a Chrome browser on the right side of the screen, if you're wondering what that is. So then I'm going to go hrefs, and I'm going to paste that CDN directly inside of there. And as you can see, I'm using version 3.3.5. I'm going to talk about version 4 a little bit. And basically one of the major changes with version 4, which is in alpha right now, which means it's not done, is we're going to be changing from using a less compiler to a Sass compiler, and I'll provide a link to my Sass tutorial in the description as well, so you'll be ready for version 4. Alright, so now we have Bootstrap here installed, and now we're going to go down here and just start creating a ton of different things. First thing we're going to need to do, however, is come in here and put both a link to jQuery, which is this guy right down here, as well as another link to the JS or JavaScript stuff that we're going to use to make Bootstrap work. And there's all of that text. Like I said, all the code is available in the description, and make sure you put that at the very, very bottom right when the body tag closes. Now the very first thing I'm going to create here is what we call a container, and we just go class and follow that up with container. And you're going to need to use this container div because it's going to, first off, provide padding around itself, while you can use another one. It's called container fluid. You can use either one of these. But container is going to put padding around everything that it contains, while container fluid is not. It's just going to make everything butt up against the outside of the screen. That's why container is used most of the time. And one of the other reasons why we're going to use containers is because Bootstrap grids require a container inside of them. Now inside of this, I'm going to create another div, and this is going to have the class of page header. And page header is going to both add space around the text as well as enlarge any of the text inside of it, and it's also going to provide or add an underline after the text is displayed. So we're just going to throw a simple h1 tag inside of here and just type in Bootstrap tutorial and then close off the h1 tag, and you can see exactly how this is going to work. And you can see right there, Bootstrap tutorial, it enlarged it, and there's also a line right there. We're going to also be able to use another class, and this is called Jumbotron, and there's a lot of things we're going to be able to use or do with Jumbotron, and I'm going to show you a whole ton of them here in a second. But basically Jumbotron is going to enlarge your fonts, and it's going to put everything inside of a gray box by default with rounded corners. Of course, you'll be able to change from that gray box to any other color you'd like to use. And just so you know, if Jumbotron is used outside of a container, it's going to completely fill the total width of whatever screen it is displayed on. And of course, you're going to also be able to change Jumbotron, as I did right here. I changed the background color for it, as well as the text color for it right there in the styling section. So it's quite easy to come in there and style it. And like I said, I'm going to show you some other different ways we can style it here in a moment. But to start off, I'm going to throw a paragraph inside of here and save that and reload this on the screen. And there you can see I changed the color for it, and there is the text displayed inside of it. Now we're going to display a whole bunch of other things. We're also going to display some buttons. And there are many different built-in button colors and sizes, and anytime you would like to have a link trigger page functionality, it actually should be called a button as well. However, whenever you want to use buttons using Bootstrap, you should pretty much just call them button elements and keep it that way to avoid any type of confusion. So now I'm going to create another paragraph inside of here, still inside the Jumbotron. And then inside of here, I'm going to put a link, and let's just have this point at absolutely nothing. And then I'm going to create another class inside of here, and I'm going to put inside of here the button class as well as button default, and then button large, and I'm going to cover all the other different things and what those classes specifically mean. I'm going to give it the role of button, and then I'm going to give it specific text of more info, and then close off that link. Like I said, you can use links to refer to them as buttons, but it's better to use buttons. I just like to cover everything, however. So let's come in here and let's create another button using the proper button tag. And to do that, we would just go type, and let's just have this be a submit button class. Again, we're going to call it button. This time we're going to change the color of it, and that's going to be called button danger. That's all that's adding there is a different color. Close that off and just give it the name of button, just to keep that simple. You're also going to be able to come in here and use an input type, with the type being equal to button and a value being equal to whatever. Let's just have it be info, as well as class, and you can see here that nothing's going to change. We're still going to put button inside of there, and just to give it a different color, I'm going to go button info. And just so that we can see all the different colors of default buttons we can have, I'm just going to create a whole bunch more buttons inside of here. And if we save and reload it, you're going to see all those buttons on the screen. There you can see exactly how they line up. And like I said, all the color changes are going to be changed based off of these guys right here, button info and button danger, and you can see how those line up. You can also see here that I was able to get rid of the button part right here, and that's the default button size that we would be using. We can also use a button small, as well as a button extra small, as well as a button large. And you can see right there, there's a button large, there's a button extra small, and there is a button small. So there's all kinds of built-in different ways of styling buttons inside of Bootstrap. You're also going to be able to create buttons and disable them, and then re-enable them if you'd like to. So let's just create another button inside of here, type button, and let's give it a class, button, which is the default button size, and button, and then we'll go and say that we want this to be a large button, and we want to use the primary color for buttons. And then if we want this to be disabled, by default we would just go disabled is equal to disabled, and that button will be disabled, of course. And let's just call this primary, and you're going to see that pop up here, and there is the button, and you can see right there that it's disabled. It can't be clicked on. You're also going to be able to disable links, so let's just throw in a simple link inside of here. We can go class, and let's make it button, button default, button large, and the only difference is you're going to put disabled directly inside of there. And we can have the role for this also be button. Put link inside of there, and you can see there we have a disabled link. See, in this situation the little warning doesn't pop up, but you still can't click on it. Another thing we're going to be able to do is come in and group our buttons. So let's go and create another div inside of here, and let's give this the class name equal to button group, and let's have these be button group large. You would also be able to come in and make this small as well as extra small. So there's just tons of things you're going to be able to do, but they're pretty easy to remember. Of course, cheat sheet's always nice, and that's why I provide one. In this situation, we'll make the role equal to group, and then we'll just go and throw a whole bunch of buttons inside of here. And there we go. Save them. And you can see here, let's say we wanted to have sizes for our shirt or something. They're small, medium, and large. And if we reload it, you can see how they line up. However, they are all individually connected, and you're only going to be able to select one of those items at a time. So it sort of works like radio buttons or check boxes or something like that. And those are button groups. So now what I want to do is jump over and take a closer look at the grid system. Then we'll come back and take a closer look at all of the different interface tools that we have available to us. Alright, so now let's come in here and take a closer look at exactly how we're going to be able to create responsive websites very easily. So I'm going to come in here, throw a container inside of there. Then inside of it, if you want to create a responsive site that is going to scale, we're also going to have to create another div inside of this, and this is going to have the class name of row, and then we're going to be able to come in here and go and throw in a whole bunch of data. Now how we're going to be structuring everything is Bootstrap uses what's called a 12-column system, which means that if we want to have all of our different elements line up properly on our screen, we're going to have to section them off into versions of 12. And let's just jump in and just do it. I'm going to create another div inside of here, and here is where the magic happens. I'm going to create a class, and we're basically going to be working with large screens, which is going to be 1200 pixels or above, medium-sized screens, which is going to be from 992 pixels to 1200, small screens, which is going to be between 992 to 768, and extra small screens, which would be like mobile devices, which is going to be less than 768 pixels. Now to define all these, I'm going to have 4 separate columns, so what I need to do is divide up all of the 12 segments so that all this information fits on our screen. And how you do that is just type in column, because we're going to be styling columns. And in a situation in which we are on a large screen, which is going to be 1200 pixels or more, I'm going to say that I want this to take up 3 of the total 12 columns on our screen. On medium-sized screens, which is going to be 992 pixels, I'm going to say that I want to use MD, that's a medium-sized screen, and I still want to take up 3 of the total space. On smaller screens, I'm going to say that I want to take up 6 of the available 12 spaces. And on small or extra small screens, I'm going to say that I want to take up all of the 12 spaces. And that's exactly how that's all lined up. So now let's throw some text inside of here. And there we go. I'm going to throw a header inside of here, as well as some just regular old straight text. And then I'm going to do the same thing for 4 additional columns, and then we can see how the site just automatically responds. Okay, so I threw in a whole 3 additional columns for a total of 4. You can see column 3, and there's column 4, and of course column 2. And you can see also that I defined that they will take up exactly the same amount of space. So 3, 3, 6, 12, 3, 3, 6, 12, 3, 3, 6, 12, and there you go once again. Now if I save this, I on purpose made an error so that I can show you how to fix it. Let's reload it, and there's the error you can see right there. You can see right here, whenever we are in a large format, 1200 pixels, it takes up all the space individually and puts spaces between all the different columns. As I shrink it down, there is the medium range. You can see that it went and automatically scaled. There it got messed up. I'm going to fix that in a second. And here, whenever we get to smaller screens, you can see that it automatically went and put each of the individual columns on separate lines. So now how do we fix this problem right here? See right there. Basically, the reason we have the problem is because this has more text than this guy right here, so it jumps up. But it's very easy to fix it. All you're going to need to do is to throw a div with a specific class right before where the column messes up. So the column messes up on column 3, so we're going to find column 3 right here. And what we're going to do is just go in and throw a div inside of here, and then give this the class name equal to clearfix. And we're going to say that this is only going to be visible whenever we are in the small section, which is this guy. See right here, right there we're in the large, and right here we're in medium, and there is small. So we only want this to occur whenever we're in the small part, and that's the reason why that's there. And that's literally all we need to do. And if we reload it, you can see everything lines up perfectly. And if we scale, you can see that everything scales perfectly. So ridiculously easy to make responsive websites, as you can see right there. Now I'm going to come in here and show you how it works whenever we have different size columns. All of these were exactly the same, so let's go and delete this. And instead, let's come in and let's create another div. And this is going to have, once again, class. However, this is going to have column large equal to 2, column medium is going to be equal to 2, column small is going to be equal to 4, and column extra small is going to be equal to 12. And while I'm inside of here, might as well show you how to very easily set it up so that we'll be able to collapse or hide data on our screen. So we're going to come in here and have H4, which is going to show on our screen. And let's go and make this a link, hrefs, And in this situation, whenever this is going to be clicked on, it is going to show or hide the column of content on our screen. And to do that, we have to go Data, Toggle, and the toggle that we will specifically be aiming at is Collapse. So it will either collapse or uncollapse, so we want to show that, or show, whatever. And we're going to call this Column 1, and then we'll close off that link tag, and we'll close off the H4 tag as well. Now we're going to come in and create a div, which is going to collapse or not collapse, depending upon what we have here. And it's going to have the same name as what we have right there. So there we are, paste that in there. And then we're going to say that whenever it first loads on our screen, it's going to be in collapse mode. So there that is. And if you want it to show by default, you're going to say collapse in instead. So it's not going to be collapsed when it first shows on the screen, but then it's going to collapse thereafter. And then we'll throw in some text inside of here. And there that is. And now let's create some more of these different containers so that we will be able to see exactly what it looks like whenever these change. So I'm just going to copy this guy right here, paste that inside of there, close off that div. And for this guy, I'm going to change this to take up 4 columns, and this is going to take up 4 columns, and this is going to take up 8 columns, and this is going to take up the total of 12 columns. And I went and threw in 2 additional columns, and you can see here that the only difference is this is in collapse in, which means it's going to show by default, and this is collapse, and this is collapse. So let's save that, reload it, see how it works. You can see collapse in, that's the reason why that's showing by default. However, if we come in and click on this, it's going to collapse, and now it's going to show. And let's make all these show on screen, and you're going to be able to see exactly how they go and structure themselves. So when they're in large mode, you're going to see that they equally divide up all the space by 4, so they'll be able to show up right like this. This first column is going to take up 2 of the 12 spaces, this is going to take up 4 of the 12 spaces, and this is going to take up the remaining 6. See how they all add up to 12? Then when we're in medium mode, it's going to take up 2, this is going to take up 4, this is going to take up 6. Whenever we get into small mode, this is going to take up a total space. As you can see right there, see it's taking up all the different space that's available, while this is going to divide between 8 and 4. And then here we have, when we're in extra small mode, we're going to take up all the spaces, and they are all going to be on separate lines. It's a pretty simple, very easy way to hide all that content, show all that content, and so forth and so on. Another thing that's neat is very often, I'm sure you've seen websites that will literally take elements off the screen based off of screen sizes. So let's go and take a look at exactly how that works. Come in here, make sure that we always have a closing div for the row part there. Remember, anytime you use grid, you're going to have containers and you're going to have row. And now this time we don't even need the row part here, but I'm not going to delete it because instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use well here. And I'm going to say that this guy is going to be hidden whenever it's in small mode, hidden whenever it is in medium screen mode, and hidden whenever it is in large mode. We can close off that div, and then inside of here, inside of paragraph tags, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to say that the screen is less than 768 pixels, so we'll be able to see this change on the screen. And then I'm going to create a whole bunch more of these, one for each of the different screen sizes. And then for this one, I'm going to say that this is not going to be hidden when we're in small mode, and this guy is not going to be hidden whenever we are in small or medium mode. And then this guy isn't going to be hidden at all, so we'll just let that be well. And I threw in some information about the different screen sizes here, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And here you can see if I go and reload it, how they change. And as I go and shrink the size down, how all the different elements are going to show based off of the screen size changes. So that's how easy it is to go in here based off of screen sizes to automatically hide elements or show elements. So pretty neat. Now for the final demonstration in this part anyway, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go container. I'm going to show you some things that you can do with tables, as well as how you can sort of show different things or move things around on the screen. So let's go class, let's equal to row, and then close that off, and then we'll go and paste in all of our different table data. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to move things to the right of the screen so that you can have blank spaces on the side if you'd like to do something like that. We could come in here first off and create a div and give this to class, and let's say that we want this div that's going to be blank to take up half the screen when we're in medium mode, so we can go 6 like that, and then just throw nothing inside of there. Then in the second situation where we're going to have our table, we're going to have class equal to and column, and it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to take up 6 of the space whenever it's in medium mode, and close that off. And then inside of here we'll just throw in all of our table data, and there that is. Let's go and save that and reload this, and you can see that all that shows up on the screen. However, whenever we switch it to medium mode, you can see that it jumps over to the right side of the screen. Now, we don't need to come in here and go and throw in this dead sort of div inside of here. We could get rid of that altogether and get the exact same results where it shows on the right side of the screen by just coming in and going column, medium, offset 6, and you're going to get exactly the same results. And all that means is going to offset or leave blank 6 columns to the left side of the screen and display all that. Now I want to focus in on some things that I did here with the table. Now we can come in and label this as table bordered, and what that's going to do is go and throw a border around the whole entire table. Pretty simple. Table striped is going to go in here and put these stripes inside of our table right like that. Of course, we would be able to go into the CSS and change all that. I'll show you that in a minute. And table hover, whenever that class is used, anytime we would hover over any of the different parts of the table, it's automatically going to change color. Another thing you can see right here is I'm saying with column span that best baseball players, this guy up here, is going to take up 4 of the total spaces or columns on our web page. While here, what we're saying is this blank space where we have our names, we only want that to take up 2 of the total 6 columns that we have here allocated for this table. Another thing that I did right here is I went and put text center inside of here. It's text left by default, and that's the reason why you see average and RBIs and home runs right here in the center of the table. Of course, you could also put text right just to show you how that works, and you can see it's on the right now. Looks ugly, but just wanted to cover that. And that is pretty much all the different things you can do with tables, as well as how to offset and move different elements on the screen. Now I want to show you how you can download the source for Bootstrap. Go in and change CSS styling inside of it. Well, I'm going to specifically target Jumbotron and how to style it. And then I'm also going to show you all the cool things you can do with Carousel inside of Bootstrap. Now to get the source for Bootstrap, again, you're going to go to getbootstrap.com, getting started, and in this situation, you're going to download the source code right here. Then whenever you download the source code, you're going to go into the dist file, and you're going to copy all of these guys, every single one of them. And then you're going to paste them in, as you can see right here, CSS, fonts, and JS into whatever directory you're using for your website. Now we're going to come in here and specifically link directly to those downloaded versions. Now I went and put them in the directories that you saw right there. And if I want to link to them, I'm just going to come in and go link. This is going to be style sheet, type, text, CSS. Everything's fine right here. The hrefs, however, is going to be CSS, bootstrap.css, because I want to change that CSS here. I'm not using the min version of it. I'm using the regular CSS file. I'm also going to be using a Google font. That's what this is, if you're wondering what that is. Google provides a whole bunch of web fonts that are free. And then down here you can see that I went and also installed jQuery just like I previously did. However, down here I'm linking to the JS or JavaScript directory that I have right here, and I am using the min version in this situation. So that's how we would be able to come in there and use our own versions of our downloaded source with Bootstrap and go in and customize the styling for it. Alright, so down inside of the body section, I am just going to throw in some dummy text and images and so forth just so you can see what those look like on the screen. Again, I'm going to be using Jumbotron, so I'm going to have a class inside of here, which is going to be the container because I want it to have padding around the outside. And now we'll go in and throw Jumbotron inside of this. So class is equal to and Jumbotron. And then I'm just going to paste in some junk images and so forth. So there's a logo that I went and threw inside of here. Here is a website title, and here's a website slogan that I threw inside of there. And if we come up inside of here, this has nothing to do with Bootstrap, but you can see right here I have my font size and I have my default font family. I have the logo, which is 100 pixels by 100 pixels, website title, and all that. This is how you link to the Google font that I have up here. There's Pacifico, say right there, Pacifico. And we can go and save this and reload this guy over here. I'm in Bootstrap 3 right now. You can see exactly how that shows up on the screen. The only reason I did this, however, is to go in here and show you how you can change the color on Jumbotron and change the styling for everything for the most part. And to do that, you're going to open up the Bootstrap CSS file, this guy right here, which is in your CSS directory. And if you just open that guy up and you go and do a search or a find for Jumbotron, you're going to see right here, well, we'll be able to come in and change the background color. So let's just change it to a default background color and save it and reload it. And you can see that it changed just slightly. Let's go and change it to something more defined. Let's go like this, reload. and you can see it changed to black, and here we changed it to white, and there we go. So that's how easy it is to come in, and there's a bazillion different things you can change style-wise inside of here. Just wanted to show you exactly what that looks like in a real-life situation. Now I'm going to show you Carousel, which is a ridiculously cool slider, and to create it, all we're going to have to do is come in and create a div, and I'm going to give it the ID of the carousel. Doesn't matter what this name is right here. We're going to be referring to it, however. And this is going to have a class, and we're going to call this carousel and slide. And then we're going to go data ride equal to carousel. Close that off. Now here what we're going to do is define how many slides that we want to put inside of our carousel inside of an ordered list. And this is going to have the class name of carousel indicators. And then we're going to put list items inside of here. Let's close that off. So list item data target is equal to the carousel. And then we're going to define what slide this is. So data slide 2 is going to be equal to 0. We're going to make this class equal to active, which means it's going to be the active slider whenever the slider first shows up on the screen. And then we're just going to close off our list item. Then we're going to do exactly, for the most part, the same thing for all of our other different list items. So let's just go and throw that inside of here. The only difference is you can only have one active or one first slide to show at a time. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to change this into slide 1, and this is going to be slide 2, and nothing else needs to change there. So there's our list of items. We're going to have 3 different slides. Then we want to define the text that's going to be placed over top of the images in our slider. Let's go and create another div. Class is equal to, and we're going to call this carousel inner. Put another div inside of here. Div. This is going to be class is equal to item active. Close off that div. Throw in another div. This is going to have the class name of slide 1. And then each of these different items can have a caption. So we're going to go div class equal to carousel caption. And inside of here, we'll define all of the different text that we want to put inside of here. So here, what I'm going to do is throw an H1 tag inside of here, a paragraph, and then also a button that's going to go inside of there. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other 2 slides. So once again, we're going to put item inside of here. This is not the active one. This isn't the first one showing, so that's the reason why active isn't inside of there. There I have slide 2 instead of slide 1. Carousel caption exactly the same. And the only other difference between them is this guy's going to have a button and none of the other ones are going to have a button. But you can put buttons inside them if you'd like to. Then after all of that closes off, what we need to do is set the actions to take whenever the arrows are going to be clicked on. Let's scroll this up. We're going to go a class is equal to. We're going to target the left carousel button or carousel control, whatever you want to call it. And the H reference on this is going to be a reference to the carousel. And then we go data slide previous. So if they click on the left button in our carousel, it's going to take them to the previous slide. And here we could define, I'm going to show you more about icons that are available inside of Bootstrap, but that's what this is. You're going to see a ton about icons here in a second. And these are called glyphicons. And glyphicon chevron left is a left button. Close that off. There's that span. And now we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing for the right arrow. You're going to see here in a second what it looks like. So this is going to be changed to right carousel control. Still targeting the carousel. Data slide, however, is going to be changed to next. And the chevron is going to be changed to right, of course. And we just file save that and reload it, and you can see right there is our little slider. We can jump backwards and forwards. That's what the different arrows were doing for us. You can see here is the H1 tag we threw inside of there. There's the paragraph, there's the button. And as you can also see, it automatically scales to the screen depending upon whatever real estate is available to use it. So there's a whole bunch of different ways of using carousels and all kinds of grid layouts and so forth. Now I'm going to jump over and show you a whole bunch of other different components that are built into Bootstrap. Okay, so I told you I was going to talk about icons, so now let's talk about some icons. I'm back over inside of Bootstrap tut.html if you're looking for where I am inside my code. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a lot because I'm trying to cover a lot. Basically, Bootstrap comes with hundreds of different icons that you're going to be able to use. You're going to be able to find those at getbootstrap.com, components, glyphicons, right like this. And let's just come in here and throw some icons on the screen so you can see exactly what they look like. To get the icon to show, you just go class, and then you're going to go glyphicon like this, and then you're going to type in whatever the glyphicon's name is. You can see right here, these are the Glyphicon names. So let's come over here and let's just grab one of them. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to grab the film one that we have right here. So I'm just going to copy that, come over here, paste that inside of there. Well, I can get rid of this one. There we go. We go like this and close off the span. Jump back over here, reload it, and there you can see the little film icon shows up there on the screen. Let's come in here and throw a little container around this, and Jumbotron as well. And you can see there is the film, and you can also see that the color went automatically changed for us there. Now you're also going to be able to use these icons with links or inside of buttons or whatever you would like to do with them. So let's go and create another one. Here I'm going to create a link. Of course, doesn't go anywhere. And here I'm going to have this be class button. Use the button primary for the color, and let's make it a large button so we'll be able to see everything. And here I'm going to say trash. Put a space at the end of it. And if I want to put inside of that guy a button, I'm then going to go span class is equal to, and here I'm going to get the trash icon, throw that inside of there, and then close off our span and close off our link. I'm going to go and create another one. Let's create a regular old button, type button. Here I'll have class button, button default, make this large as well. And then inside of the button section, I'm going to create a span. And once again, class, and then I'm going to put a Glyphicon inside of here. Let's see if I can get one, do a little search for phone to see if there's a phone icon. And here I can see is a phone icon, so let's go and copy this. Jump over here inside of the span, paste that icon inside of there. And another thing that is good to do is to come in here and go area hidden like this and set this to true. And what this is going to do is just hide decorative icons like this that don't really have any meaning from screen readers so that it doesn't cause confusion. Then after the span closes out, I'm going to put a space and I'm going to say call me, and then I'm going to close off our button. Now let's go look and see what that looks like. Reload, and there you can see there is using the link type of button, and there's the trash can, and here we use the phone for our regular button. So that's how we can use different icons inside of our buttons or on their own or with links or with whatever. Now I want to jump over here and talk about wells. And basically a well is going to surround the text with a rounded border as well as a gray background by default. Of course you can change that. And what's really neat about it is you'll be able to change the size of the well from well to small to well large and so forth and so on. So I'm going to show you exactly what those look like. So to create one, you just go div class is equal to, and you already saw wells in a previous part of the tutorial. Just wanted to cover them again because they're very often used. Close off that div and throw that inside of there inside of a paragraph tag. And then let's go and also throw another one outside of the well so you can see how they both look. And reload it, and you can see right there that's the difference between using a well and not using a well. Another thing we're able to do is round our images. I'm doing all this inside of a container div, as you can see right there. So let's go and get ourselves an image, and source is equal to, and I have entity logo dot ping like this. ID is equal to, I'm going to give it the ID of entity logo. Class is going to be image responsive. And anytime you mark an image as responsive, it's going to have a max width equal to the screen. And you're going to be able to add things like rounded corners with image rounded, image circle to throw the image inside of a circle, or a thumbnail. You're also going to be able to pull left and pull right to float your images. And center block will place the image in the center of the screen. So it provides a whole bunch of different tools. So in this situation, I'm going to go image and thumbnail. And like I said, you'd be able to come in here instead and type in rounded or circle. So try those out for homework. And let's say that I want to have it be pull left or float left. That's how we would do that. And alt, I'm just going to have this be responsive image and reload it. And you can see it put the little border around there for the thumbnail, and it's also floating on the left. Another thing we can do is add contextual colors like we did to the buttons above to regular old text. And all you do is just create yourself a class and just give it names like text muted or text, the same exact sort of names as you saw before, text primary, text success, text info, text warning, and text danger. And if we reload, you can see exactly how those different colors show up there on the screen. And it just provides you with the very easy way of keeping everything consistent throughout all the text on your web page. And in a similar way, you could also kind of change the backgrounds, and all you would do is just change this from text to BG for background. and you're going to use all of the exact same names just like you did before, and reload, and there you can see how the backgrounds change. It's just like I said, it just provides you with an easy way to draw attention to text using things like success and info and warning and danger so that you have consistency across the page. Bootstrap also has a whole bunch of built-in menus that you're going to be able to use, and we would just go and create these once again inside of the container area. And I'm going to create inside of this a div. Here I'm going to create a drop-down menu, so it's class just like before, and it's drop down just like you would think that it may be. And then inside of here I'm going to throw a button, class, and then we're going to put button. I'm going to have button primary for the coloring. However, now we're going to say drop down toggle, and we could come in here and define button large, button small, or button extra small, which would just be XS or SM for small. We're going to put our type inside of here being button. Let's go and give it an ID of drop down menu 1 and data toggle. You're gonna go from being in drop down position to not being in drop down position is all that means. And then we can use ARIA again. I had mentioned it previously. What ARIA stands for is Accessible Rich Internet Applications, and they're basically used so that different elements on your site can be accessible for people that have disabilities, so for screen readers and things like that, so that certain information doesn't come up in a screen reader if it doesn't make sense, like icons and things like that, and other things would, like basic text. Well, one thing that we can do here is go ARIA has pop-up and make this equal to true. And if you want to see what all of them look like, just go to this website right here. It's this great big giant thing, w3.org tr. Like I said, this link will be available in the description, but you can see all of these different guys here. There's tons of them, and it's just ways to make, here's the main ones that we have here, and you can see there's has pop-up, and you can go and click on those and see what all of them do and what all of them mean. Make sure you spell this right though. ARIA has pop-up true. And what ARIA has pop-up means is it's just stating that the element has a submenu to it. And then ARIA expanded is equal to true. It just means it's going to be expanded. And then at the end of this we can put something like favorite hero. Oh, this will make sense once you see it here on the screen. We could then come in here and display a button if we'd like. So we go class is equal to, and here I'm just going to use a caret symbol, and I'm going to close off that button area. And now what I'm going to do is create an unordered list, and this is going to have class, which is going to be drop down menu. You can put things in this list like unselectable headers if you want to put information. So what I'm going to do here is have like a list of superheroes, and some of them are going to be in Marvel and some of them are going to be in DC. So I'm going to have this be something that's a header, but it's not going to allow you to select it because it wouldn't make sense. And then here I'll say Marvel and then close that off, and then I can actually put my list items inside of here. And I can also of course have them be links. Have this be linked to nothing, and then we can go Spider-Man, Captain America, and Iron Man. Another thing we can put in this drop-down menu is a separator. Like I said, it's just another list item, nothing other than that. And you just put separator, and class is going to have the value of divider, and then just close off that list item. And then we could throw in another header for DC like I said I was going to do, and then a couple other different heroes for Superman, Batman, and Flash in the DC universe. And if you want to have one of your list items actually not show on the screen or have it be disabled, just put class disabled on it. And if we file save that, you're going to see exactly what this looks like. There it is, favorite hero. If we click on it, it's going to show everything. There's the header, there's the divider, and this is disabled. So that's a really cool looking drop down menu, and like I said, it's very easy to change the styling on all of this. So now let's take a look at input groups. Now the input groups are basically going to allow you to put your labels right next to where you would input your information, which is really cool, and you can put them on the left or the right side or the left and right side. And to group inputs together, we're going to come in here and go class, and we'll go input group, and we'll say input group large, and again you could have small and extra small as well. And now those are grouped together, so the input and the label, so we can actually come in and go span class is equal to, and input group add-on and your name. It's just a neat way of doing this. You're going to see here in a second what it looks like. And then just do a regular old input. So input text just like you always do. Class is equal to, go form control, placeholder is equal to full name, close that off, and you can see right there how the label goes directly inside of there. It's like the two of them are connected, so it's a nice little style element. throw a break statement at the end, and then do pretty much exactly the same thing here. So let's just copy this. Here we can change this to small just so you can see the difference between large and small. And in this situation, we'll just put the input before the label that we have inside of there, just so you can see how that looks. And then inside of the span, input group, let's say we want it to be a button instead of just a regular old label, so you'll be able to catch an event that would be clicked on whenever you clicked on that button. And then what you could do is actually throw a button inside of it. So we'll just go button and give this a class name of button, and let's just use the default button in this situation, and then enter. And you can see it's a little bit smaller because that's how we defined it, and now this is a button that we can actually have events triggered on. This is just a label. This is a button. And you can put those on the right or the left side of the screen, just depending upon how you want to do it, or the right and the left side of the screen. We could also come in here and create input button drop downs. And in this situation, we're going to have a div once again, and this is going to use the class of row. Of course, put this inside of quotes. This is going to have another div inside of it, which is going to have a class of input group. I'm showing you pretty much everything you can use here with Bootstrap. Tons of neat tools. And then put another div inside of this, and this is going to be an input group button. And then finally throw our button inside of it. Class is equal to button. Let's just throw a default button inside of there. The type on this is button. Bounce back inside of the class. Let's put drop down toggle so that it toggles from being on into being off. And then we're also going to go data toggle is equal to drop down. And then once again, just like we did with our other drop down, we'll have aria has pop up equal to true, and aria expanded, meaning that it's not going to be expanded whenever it opens up. Set that to false, and we could throw something inside of here like user ID. And then after that, we could throw a span inside of here, which is going to have a caret. So span, and give this the class of caret, so it will show a caret symbol like you would expect with a drop down. And then we could put in our unordered list items, and this is going to have class of drop down menu, because that's what it is. And then we can have our list items inside of here as well. And let's make these links that go nowhere. We can do something like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Now after that closes off, well, first off, take this span up here. This is a caret symbol right here, so you don't want it down there, you want it up here. That's just going to put the caret in there for the drop down. And then we can come in here and put in an input box. So let's say we're asking for like a username on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, and they're going to put that in and then choose Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. You'll see here in a second what it looks like. Type, this is just going to be a text input. Class is equal to form control. And now you can see if I save that, we can click on user ID, Facebook, and then they could type in whatever their user ID is on Facebook or whatever you'd want to do. They also have some special tools we can use for radio boxes as well as check boxes inside of Bootstrap. So we're going to put this inside of a div with the class of row once again, and we're also going to come in and create a div class. This is going to be an input group. We could throw a span inside of here. Class is equal to, and put input group add-on, and then put input, and this guy is going to be a checkbox. If you'd want it to be a radio button instead, just put radio button, or just put radio instead of checkbox inside of there. And then we can group this up with the just a basic old input box, right, like this, and it just provides a way for us to group different interface elements together, as you can see right there. So they could put the check inside of there and then write some sort of information inside of there and do whatever else you'd like. Another thing we can do is create a bunch of other different types of navigation elements. Again, I'm going to do this inside of a div with the class name of container. And let's say we wanted to create a basic horizontal menu. Well, we're just going to create an unordered list and give it the class name of list inline. And then inside of this, you're just going to put all of your list items. So list item, and then you could put links inside of here. Let's just have that go there, and you could do something like home, close off your list item. Let's make a couple of these. Could also come in and do an about. We could also come in and add a drop down menu. So we could do list item again, and all we need to do is come in and change the class name to drop down, and then put some different information inside of it. So we could have a link here, and a couple things we need to change, however. We could still leave that be hrefs be nothing. However, we want to come in and have our class be drop down toggle. That's how we can turn the drop down on and off. And then of course we got to go data toggle, just like we have a bunch of other different times, and type in drop down. And then this guy right here could be contact or something like that. We could go and throw a span inside of here again if we would want to put a caret symbol inside of there, and then just close off that span. And then inside of this we could put a whole bunch of different list items. So we need to put in an unordered list once again. Class is equal to, and this is going to be drop down menu, and then you'll put in your list items for that drop down menu for your horizontal bar. So list item, real simple. Close that off, and then you could throw in all of your different links inside of there. So let's say we wanted them to be able to contact us by phone or email, or have another option where they could set an appointment or schedule an appointment. And it's going to automatically scale everything so you don't have to worry about any of that. And save that, reload it, and you can see right there exactly how that works out. If we click on that contact, that drop down right there will show you all the different options you have available. So really easy to add those horizontal menus as well, and then go in and style them just like before. Could also come in and create a basic vertical menu in kind of a similar way. So let's just go create an unordered list, and we just give it a class name. Here what I'm going to do is use pills for the vertical menu. So I'm going to go navigation, and I'll go nav pills and nav stacked since it's vertical. And inside of it we just put all our list items again. So li, and here we'll just say class is equal to, and let's have this be the active pill or navigation element on the screen, which means it's just going to be selected. Href, and then we'll throw in home like we did previously. Close off our list item, and let's do it just like we did with our previous menu that we had here. We could throw this inside of here and throw about inside of there. We're also going to be able to use drop downs if we want. So we'll go in and throw our next list item inside of here. However, this is going to be a drop down, so we're going to call this drop down. It's automatically going to work for us. And then inside of there we can just go and throw a link inside of there. Give this a class name, which is drop down toggle. Again, we're doing the same thing in the same sort of ways. Again, data toggle to make it show up there, and this is going to be drop down. That's not going to do anything. And then after we have the end of this link that we have here, we'll do contact just like we did with the other menu. We can still throw in different span elements to create our caret symbols for us for our drop down to make it look a little bit better. And then we'll go and get this link right here and throw that at the end. And after we have that set up, then all we have to do is throw another unordered list inside of there to have all of our different options that are available. So unordered list, class, and this is going to be drop down menu, and then we throw in our different list items. So list item, and then just like we did previously, well, let's close off that list item, email, and schedule, and reload it, and there you can see. Now you have different ways of selecting all these different guys, and there you can see that we can also go and click on these also. So pretty cool stuff. So let's go, and since we talked about pills, why don't I go and talk about other different tabbed interfaces as well as pilled interfaces. Now what this is going to allow us to do is to create like tabs on our screen that's going to change information in a div based off of different buttons that are clicked. So I want to have horizontally across the top of the screen, I'm going to have a list of different options, and I'm going to use navigation just like previously, and nav pills, which are going to be like the little rounded off edged things. You could also put tabs inside of there, just change that from pills to tabs. Close that off, and then we'll put in our different options we have. So we have class is equal to, let's go and make this the active tab on our screen whenever it first loads up. And the difference here is, since we're going to be changing data inside of a div down below, we're going to reference that div being the one that we want to show on the screen, and by default it's going to show up there. So we'll just have Superman. Whenever this is clicked on, it's going to show Superman's information on the screen, and we can close that off. And let's go and have a couple different superheroes inside of here. So we could also have Batman. This isn't going to be active though. You can only have one of them active, so get rid of that. And this one's going to be changed to Batman, and change this to Batman. For this guy right here, we're going to change the class for this. Let's go and show you another drop down. So let's just say it's a drop down, because that's exactly what it is. Then whenever we do that, for the link inside of it, we're going to change this class to drop down toggle. And what do we do every single time we have drop down toggle? Well, we go data toggle is equal to drop down. We're not going to have this link to anything. Whenever they click on that, there's actually going to be two different types of flash. So whenever they click on flash, it's going to show a couple different things. Right after the flash, however, I'd also like to come in here and throw a span, class inside of it so that I can show a caret on the screen so that they know that it's a drop down just by looking at it. There's that span, and then that'll be the end of that link, but it's not the end of the drop down yet because we want to put different options inside of it. So an unordered list, class, and this is going to be a drop down menu, and then we can put our different items inside of here. Let's close off that unordered list so that we know where that is, and now we'll just list all of our different items inside of here. If we'd like to have one of those items disabled, once again you just type in class disabled and it automatically disables it. That works on tons of components. Inside of this list item we can go reference, and this one's going to point at the information on Flash, and we're just going to call him the Flash, and then we're going to do another one that's going to be Kid Flash. So let's just go like this, and as soon as this link ends right here, throw another one inside of there, come down here where it says Batman, and instead change this to Kid Flash, change this to Kid Flash, change this link here to data toggle is equal to tab, and all the rest of that's fine. So now what we need to do after we have created this unordered list of things that we can click on across the top of the screen, we then want to list all of the information we want to show whenever those different tabs are clicked on. And to do that, we create another div and give it the class name of tab content, and then we'll just separate all of them. So we'll go div, this is going to have the ID of Superman, which is what we'll be referencing whenever they're on the tabs, like these guys up here, say Superman right there, Superman, that's what we're referencing right there. Class is going to be equal to, this is going to be a tab pane, which is what we're using, and we could say that it's going to fade off the screen, and we'll say that it's going to be active. That's by default, it's going to be the active thing on the screen whenever it loads. Close off that div and then put information in here that you want to show. And I just threw in paragraph tags for all of our different superheroes. And if I reload it, you can see Superman is active by default. If I click on Batman, Batman's information shows up. If I click on Flash, the Flash and Kid Flash drop down show up. This is disabled like I disabled it, and Kid Flash shows up Kid Flash information. So there's tabbed interfaces as well as pilled interfaces. Now let's take a look at collapsible navigation bars, which are ridiculously cool. Now I just went ahead and copied and pasted this in here because this is the way you always will do navigation bars. I'm going to walk you through what every single thing means. However, this is a copy and paste thing. This isn't something you memorize by any stretch of the imagination. And as you can see over here, it's a very functional little navigation bar. It throws it inside of there. It has an icon, has different options we can select, has drop downs that we can also click on. And as you can see, I went and copied and pasted in the navigation bar. I'm going to explain every single line here, but as you can see, it is very useful. We're going to be able to shrink this down, it automatically scales, and also it's going to create this little menu here depending upon smaller screen sizes directly for you, so it's extremely useful. And it's also going to allow us to add in both buttons and drop downs as well as a search bar as well as a submit button. So basically I'm going to go through all the different options we have here. So this is container fluid, which means it's going to completely fill the container part that we have right here. Nav bar default are the ways that you define that you're going to actually use a nav bar. Then you're going to put in a div with the class name of navbar header. Another option you can have here is instead of navbar default, you could come in and put navbar fixed -top, and that's going to always keep it on the screen, or navbar fixed bottom, which is always going to keep it at the bottom of the screen. Bottom. There we go. And so go and play around with that for homework just to see how that looks, but I'm just going to keep it navbar default, which means it's going to scale, so as the screen is scrolled it's going to disappear and come back and so forth and so on. This button right here is going to be the button that toggles the navbar on and off whenever you're on smaller screens. So that button is actually this button here with all the dashes inside of it. And it uses data toggle collapse, and just like you saw previously with the other different guys that we were playing around with, and there's the RA expanded false and so forth and so on. This span right here is only there to hide information from screen readers. This guy right here is actually the bars that are drawn inside of this button right here. So these 3 bars that you see right there, that's what these 3 bars are. So yes, indeed, you do need them, or you could throw something else inside of that span, some other icon or something if you'd prefer. Right here is where we have our logo, and you're going to have to play around with the logo that you have. Pull left, of course, is going to, it just works exactly the same way as float left. It's going to put it on the left side of your bar. And whenever you're working with the image you're going to place inside of there, your logo, you're going to have to add padding in your image on the top and the right until it fits in there just right. And that's something you're going to have to do in some sort of graphics program like Photoshop, something like that. And then down inside of this div, we're going to collect the nav links, forms, and other content that's going to be toggled on and off on the screen whenever the screen is too small to display all that information. And then down inside of here, you can see that I have all of my links. So there is my home, there is the about, there's drop downs. We're going to create drop downs in exactly the same way that we've gone over many other different times. Here you can see there's the drop down part with the email and set appointments and all those other different things. You can see right here is where we're going to have our search form. You can see that we grouped those items together. There is the input box that we have right there. And then here is our submit button. And then this is closing off all the other different divs. So that's how we would create a nav bar that's going to automatically resize and shrink and show up different menus depending upon the screen size. So really neat. Pagination is also going to be very easy to implement. Again, we're going to throw this inside of our container area. And then we're just going to create a nav element inside of here. Inside of that, we'll then put in an unordered list. And our class here is going to be pagination. Close that off, close off our unordered list, and we're going to list all of our different elements that we want to show up inside of here. So list item, of course. And then we're going to put in our different links. And it's done a little bit different. We'll go hrefs. We're going to have this go into nowhere because it doesn't really matter. ARIA label. And this is going to be previous for screen readers, like we've talked about previously. And then we can throw in another icon. ARIA, let's hide this icon from screen readers so it doesn't cause confusion. And that's what that does. And then I'm going to go LAQUO, which is going to draw that little arrow. And then we're going to close off our span. And then close off this list item. And then we're going to put all of the other different pages that we want to show up in our list. So just create a whole bunch of list items with a whole bunch of links inside of them. So if you want to show 5 pages, well, let's just go in here and put 1. Close that off. And then of course you just have to come in and change these to all the different page items. And of course the links would have to go to some page somewhere. And then at the very end you're going to create pretty much exactly the same thing as you created here for the previous. And this is going to be changed to next. So let's just change this to next. This is going to be right, RAQUO instead of LAQUO. And everything else should be all set up. And reload it, and you can see the pagination automatically works for us. We'll be able to come in there. So another nice little component. Now let's take a look at thumbnails. Here what I'm going to do inside of container and then inside of the div for row is create 4 columns of, it's going to have an image, a header, it's going to have a description, and then it's going to have the option for the user to click on it to add to cart or something like that. So it's just a basic sort of shopping cart type of thing. So since we're going to be working with columns, that means we're going to have to come in and mess around with the different classes on how this information is going to be divided up. So we're going to say that whenever it's in large mode, we want each of these to take up 3 spaces, and medium is going to be 3, and let's just have them all be exactly the same, is 3. So under all situations they're going to take up or divide up the 3 different columns between the 4 different elements that I'm going to display on the screen. Then inside of each one of these guys I'm going to throw a thumbnail as well as a caption. So I'm going to go div class is equal to thumbnail, throw an image inside of it, and I already went and created one of these, so I'll go thumb1, and this is a ping file. Let's just go and have the alt be just nothing. And then inside of this, wherever you want to put your text, you're going to go div class is equal to and caption, and then inside of there you can put in your header file as well as paragraph and then a button. And if we reload it, you can see there's hamburger with a little image inside of it, and then we're just going to throw 3 more of those inside of there. And we did exactly the same thing. If we reload it, you're going to see all 4 of them show up inside of there. And if I went, this changed to meatball sub, we can mess around with that, but you can see that they all line up pretty nice. There it scales a little bit better, and they're automatically going to get a little bit funky right there. In that situation, these should have been moved down so that they were stacked on top of each other for smaller screens, but either way, you get the idea. And now I'll show you how to set up a progress bar, and it's basically just going to provide for an easy way for you to provide feedback to users by changing a value for a progress bar. And to create one, again, inside of a container, we're just going to say div and class and progress. And then inside of that div, we're going to create another div, and it's going to have the class of progress bar. And you can either have it be a basic flat colored progress bar or have it be a striped progress bar. I like the striped version a little bit better, so I'm going to keep it that way. And the role in this situation is progress bar. And then aria value now, this is going to be something you would change. So let's say we want it to be 60, just put 60 inside of there, and that's what it's going to demonstrate on our progress bar. And then inside of here, we can say the minimum value on our progress bar is going to be 0, and the maximum value on our progress bar is going to be 100. And let's go and style this then to have a width of 60%. And you can see it would be very easy to change the progress bar value on the screen. And then we could also come in and throw a span at the end of it that would say class SR only, and say something like 60% complete. Something else we could change with JavaScript. And then save that, reload it, and you can see right there is the progress bar, and you can see that it's striped the way that I have it right there. Now let's go and take a look at media objects. Now a media object is basically going to allow us to structure information on the screen sort of like in a blog format, and we could also set it up to make it look like a commenting system where one person's commenting to another person's response. Again, we're going to put this inside of a container, and then we're going to create another div, and it's going to be class of media. And whenever we're talking about media, we're going to be talking about an image that we're going to be showing on the screen, and we're going to decide on the placement of that by surrounding an image with a div that's going to have a class. And we're going to say that we want the image to be on the left and that we want it to be on the top. So the upper left hand corner of the display of information on our screen. And then inside of this we could throw in, let's just make it a link, and that's just going to allow them to click on a thumbnail and display some type of information if they'd like. There's going to be an image inside of it, and I'm just going to say thumb1.ping. I'm going to use the same images that I used previously, except here I'm going to say class is equal to media object, and then we'll just throw alt in here of nothing again. Then outside of the div that's going to surround our thumbnail, I'm going to throw another div inside of this. However, this one's going to have media body, and this is going to be the text that's going to accompany that image. And then inside of here we can throw in a header tag as well as a whole bunch of paragraphs of information. And if we reload it, you can see exactly how that shows up on the screen. And it's automatically going to scale and do all those different things that we'd like. And then of course right after that we could throw in exactly the same type of thing. Again, media, there's a different thumb, there's a different media body, there's more information, and you can see how they line up like a blog formatted type of thing. And you could also have these be nested and so forth. I'm actually not going to cover that. I'll just let that be in the code that's in a link in the description. You can go take a look at how to do that. It's very simple. That would just allow you to indent all this information. And then to round off everything, I'm going to cover some information on lists and how we can mess around with them. Let's create a list group right here. So unordered list, class is equal to list group, close off the unordered list of course. Then we're going to throw in some list items. Class is equal to, we'll go list group item because that's what it is. If you want to have one of the items in your list disabled, you just put disabled inside of there. Let's just go and put something like Verizon email. Throw in another list item, give this the same class name. Class is equal to list group item, just like we had previously. And then for this one we could also add badges to these guys. So for this list item, what I'm basically going to try to mock up here is like in an email type of system. So we could say span class is equal to, you can use badges, which is another Bootstrap little interface tool. Say we wanted to have 123 emails from our Gmail account. We could do like this, and then close off that list item, which is this guy right here. We could also come in and throw in another list item. Let's just go in there like this. Class is equal to, and this is a list item group again, group item. Could also go list group item warning. This would represent our junk folder. Close off that list item. And then after those list items we have there in our unordered list, we could also add a list of links. So let's just throw that in. And this is going to have the class equal to list item group, just like the other one, or list group item. We call that add account. We could also add any HTML elements we'd like to our list. So there's that. And guess what the class is going to be again? List group item. But just to show that we can put some more random things inside of here, let's go and throw an h4 tag inside of here. Class equal to, and we'll put this as list group item heading. And let's say we wanted to give them the option to click on this guy to delete their account. Close off the H4 tag, and then we could also throw a paragraph tag underneath of it that's going to provide some information on what happens if this is clicked on. So list group item, and this is going to be listed as text, and we could say something like a warning like the account will be permanently deleted. So I'm just showing you all the different things you can put inside of a list. You could also put buttons in your list. You can put anything in your list. I'm just showing you how to set up all of them. So there you go, there's a button, and for those you're going to go class equal to list group item just like before, and you could do check for mail and then close off that button, and that's basically it. So let's go and save that and reload it, and you can see right there I pretty much knocked off the type of interface you would see with an email client. So you could, there's the Verizon email, it doesn't have anything or it's disabled, and it is disabled. There's Gmail, that's how we set up our badge. This is our junk folder. Add account, that's a button we could click on to add a new account. Delete account, that's the way we could delete it. And check for mail, another button. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much all that you could ever want to know about Bootstrap. And please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.